is there a way that we can just have them kind of boop their ID card, kind of scan their ID card, their Irish One card? And I said, that seems totally doable. I don't know how to do that, but let's dive into that.
Hello, and welcome to Behind the Screens, IT at ND, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of the IT solutions consultants at the University of Notre Dame.
Here, we explore the challenges they face, the innovative solutions they provide, and the tips and tricks that can help you make the most out of your technology. I'm Krista. I am the Marketing and Communications Manager for the Office of Information Technology here at Notre Dame.
And I'm Scooter, Director of IT for the College of Arts and Letters. We're thrilled to have you with us today. We're here today talking with Andy Janotsky, one of the IT Partnerships Managers in OIT and founder of this podcast. Andy, can you tell us a bit about this podcast? What are we trying to achieve?
Thanks, Scooter and Krista. Our goal for this podcast is simple. We want to shed light on the challenges that our IT solutions consultants face every day, the obstacles that they overcome, and the innovative solutions that they provide. A lot of IT work is considered invisible, meaning if we are doing and things are operating as expected, our users won't notice all the work that's going on behind the screens. So we want to be able to shed light on that and dig into a little bit of valuable tips and share the information across campus to other IT solutions consultants. I also want to bring on special guests, leaders and visionaries, if you will, who share strategic insights into the initiatives and processes that shape the university's IT roadmap. This could be new technologies, it could be process improvements, any future initiatives that we have going on. We want to give you a front row seat to these conversations.
So, what exactly is an IT solutions consultant?
That is a good question. Last year, we embarked on a project to define just that. Collectively, a bunch of IT solutions consultants got together to help outline what competencies are required to be successful in this role. They also came up with a definition that fits what IT consultancy at Notre Dame looks like. And the definition is this. Our mission as a Notre Dame IT solutions consultant is to be a trusted collaborator for our partner areas. We serve out our partner areas by providing innovative, creative, and best-in-class technology solutions to advance their strategic goals and objectives.
What does consultancy look like in your area?
If we use my team for an example, they help serve 16 different partner areas across campus. The team will oversee both technical support, which we often refer to as break fix, and consultation services. Our collective troubleshooting expertise allows us to provide timely solutions, while our consultation or consulting role positions us as trusted advisors, guiding our partners towards effective technological solutions. This could be a little bit different in other areas, as they might have separate people doing their break fix or their technical troubleshooting and a dedicated team to helping just with the consultancy services that are offered. But a lot of times, a lot of consultants will offer that, have that dual role.
What are some of the most common types of tasks or projects that consultants do?
So tasks and projects assigned to IT solutions consultants will vary across departments and typically encompass activities such as CWP, Campus Workstation Program, consultations, might include software testing and approval. Endpoint security compliance is something that we review and are looking at quite often. And we do a lot of event support coordination for areas that have technical capabilities, whether that be via Zoom or other telecommunication needs. And I think most importantly, while this is not explicitly outlined as a task, but it's one crucial aspect that many consultants are tasked with, is fostering and maintaining relationships. Our objective is to establish ourselves as the trusted advisors collaborating on the partner area's needs. So relationships are key and they're important and they need to be fostered every single day.
Are all consultants alike? How broad are the differences between a consultant in one area and a consultant in another area?
Not all consultants are exactly alike. While core competencies of problem solving, communication, and project management are consistent across most consultancy roles, applying these skills differs significantly based on the consultant's either specific field or their partner area. The different types, for example, are like your technical consultants that will dive deep into problem solving technical problems and recommending tools or platforms. You might have more strategy based consultants that take a high level view, providing recommendations on overall strategy, often focused on the department/university's mission. And then operation consultants often optimize workflows or enhance their partner area's productivity. One consultant can do all of those, or we might have to tap into the expertise of a different consultant depending on what their background or skill set is. We as a university, for example, use Zoom all the time. And as we were going into this pandemic and embracing the virtual meetings a lot more, we found that our skill set needed to get elevated, and we had different experts across campus that could offer us different Zoom related capabilities that we would leverage, and whether they could help train or learn or provide additional guidance when needed. We have a lot of those subject matter experts across campus that we can turn to.
So, how does consulting fit into the overall IT strategy or structure for a given area?
When considering a partner area's overall IT strategy and structure, consulting plays a critical role. It acts as a bridge between technical solutions and like the business and learning objectives. At Notre Dame, IT consulting ensures that any technology that's put in enhances the educational outcomes. It'll streamline administrative processes or it supports the university's mission. We often refer to consultants as the connection point between the partner areas and other specific OIT resources, such as networking and information security. Other examples that consultants will do is they help ensure that the IT initiatives align with the broader business goals of the partner area. And they work with stakeholders to understand the business needs and translate them into value added technical solutions, meaning we're understanding that what that department is asking for because we're integrated into their daily operations and we understand the impact of choosing the right solution. Consultants will also often identify pain points and inefficiencies with existing systems or processes and recommend technology solutions that address these issues while supporting the partner area's needs. This could include something of just moving workflows to a Google Shared Drive so that way other people can access them instead of sharing individual documents, or ensuring that people continue to have access to those things once somebody leaves the university. Also, stating that IT consultants will play a pivotal role in selecting the right technologies for the partner area, ensuring that it meets the current and future needs of that particular area.
What are some of the goals you're trying to achieve with the IT consultancy project this year?
The team identified 29 competencies that IT solutions consultants have in their tool belt. So one of the goals this year will be to outline the level of proficiency for each of those competencies and develop a learning pathways guide to help our current IT solutions consultants refine and improve those competencies, while also outlining steps for aspiring IT solutions consultants who wants to prepare for this role.
So let's imagine the shadow side of IT consultancy and consider a world without IT consultants. What would our users be missing out on?
I've been thinking about it a little bit, and I jotted a few things down to kind of give an analogy of what that would be like. So, Krista, imagine, if you will, a large, complex ship navigating treacherous waters. Without IT consultants, it's like the ship is left without a skilled navigator. The crew must fend for themselves, relying on outdated maps and guesswork. They might stumble upon hidden reefs or steer off course, wasting fuel and time. The ship's systems meant to work in harmony malfunction because no one knows how to fine-tune or troubleshoot them. Crew members get overwhelmed trying to manage too much at once, while passengers grow frustrated with delays and inefficiencies. In contrast, with an experienced navigator, an IT consultant, the ship stays on course, avoids hazards, and efficiently reaches its destination. The systems run smoothly, the crew is well coordinated, and the passengers enjoy a seamless journey, confident that any issues will be swiftly resolved.
That makes a lot of sense. So basically, if you're heading into these unnavigated brand new seas that can be kind of dangerous, you can get yourself into some trouble, but having somebody along with you who knows what they're doing, knows which way to go, knows how to set things up, you're more set up for success and less likely to sink and die.
Yes, dying is on the list of things not to do. And I'll share another personal experience that I had recently is I went to a Bronco off-rodeo, and you go out there and you get to drive a bunch of Broncos off-road, but you have a trail guide that's there to help guide you through all of those type of things. And they walk you through the beginnings of understanding the vehicle. And then we go through how to avoid what they call the expensive sounds or those mistakes as if you were driving your personal vehicle. Now you're paying for the repair costs and things of that nature. And that right there is an invaluable thing to have, of having those trail guides be able to walk you through, because I learned a lot and now I can go apply those things in my everyday life.
Yeah, totally, because you don't know what to listen for.
Right.
Wonderful. So how does this podcast fit into that overall picture for IT solutions consultants?
Behind the Screens is not just for tech enthusiasts. It's for everyone in the Notre Dame community who benefits from the power of technology. We're here to help you stay informed, inspired, and empowered by the tools and resources that enhance our everyday lives. When all is said and done, we hope to have multiple channels for our IT solutions consultants to either share knowledge, grow knowledge, or have a sense of community with their peers. This podcast, the Learning Pathways Guide that I mentioned earlier, and we're going to start a community of practice, will provide support, knowledge sharing, and transparency around the IT work being done at the university. The story of IT at Notre Dame is about more than just technology. It's about people, it's about the solutions, and it's about the future.
Okay, it's time for Consultant Quirks, where we ask our guests a few fun rapid-fire questions. So, Andy, what fictional character do you identify with most?
So, thinking about this, and I'll think about it in the IT consultancy world framework, I would have to go with Sherlock Holmes. He's analytical in mind, attention to detail, and ability to solve complex puzzles resonates with the consultancy role. Plus, he's always up for a challenge.
Cool. So, if you could have dinner with any person, real or fictional, living or dead, who would that be and why?
That's a good question. There's tons of people out there. And I'll go with the first one that popped in my mind, and I'll probably say I'd love to sit down with Steve Jobs. I formerly used to work at Apple, and we've heard stories multiple times about the nuances that Steve had and the way he empowered his team to be able to get things done, even though some people would, remark him as a dictator or not very compassionate. But one of the stories that always resonates with me is if you're ever on Apple campus, you can go down and eat at the cafe where a lot of employees will sit down, and sometimes the public. But Steve was sitting down along with Johnny Ive and had a conversation with some of the people from the retail side of the things. And they asked, hey, if there's one thing that I can do to help you guys in your work, and Steve looked at it and said, don't mess it up.
That's terrifying.
It is terrifying, but then obviously we see the ramifications that he had getting out these products and things that we use every single day.
Absolutely. So, with everyone now back to school, we know that parents will be exposed to every bug their kids will bring home. When you're feeling under the weather, what is your go-to comfort? Is it a particular soup? Is it wrapping up in a blanket on the sofa? Something else? What do you do to feel better when you feel that cold coming on?
I tend to want to dive into the world of, junk food. My go-to is ramen noodles when I'm not feeling real well. I think it reminds me back when I was a kid and when I was sick, my mom was like, "Hey, do you want some chicken noodle soup?" And I always make that chicken noodle soup, and I just kind of replace that with the chicken ramen that I don't typically eat anytime unless I'm really feeling under the weather. But other than that, I just will like maintain a low profile, relax to myself, try to get a little bit of rest and get better. But it's that craving of that junk food that I'm like, nope, I have to have these.
Yeah, ramen definitely has that classic chicken noodle soup feel, even though it isn't.
Right. And I tend to make it a little bit differently because I add a little bit more chicken bouillon than what the powder packs come with.
Oh,
So
okay.
pump up that chicken flavor a little bit
So
more.
maybe yours really is just chicken noodle soup
Probably.
made with a ramen noodle.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm excited about the world of junk food. Not just the continent or the country, but the world of junk food. That's a new one for me.
Have you ever had I don't know if you like spicy things, but a lot of times if you eat spicy things, you'll want something that's sweet afterwards. So it's usually if we dive into something like, Flaming Hot Cheetos or something like that, then always looking for chocolate to be able to counter that. And that's where the world of junk food comes in because it's not just one, it usually transitions to a bunch of other junk food.
Perfect.
Yeah, definitely. It's really hard to like follow one up with the other and then stop. I don't know how to stop that cycle.
Yeah, I think Pringles had it correctly. It's like once you pop, you can't stop.
Hmm.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Andy. It's been a real treat chatting with you today.
Thank you guys for having me on and giving me an opportunity to talk about this wonderful podcast.
Definitely.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Next up, we're chatting with Dan Lewis, IT solutions consultant from the College of Arts and Letters Computing. Dan, welcome to the show. We're glad you're here.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's kind of exciting. This is the first podcast experience I have, but I'm excited to be here.
Wonderful. Hey, so before we dive into the nitty-gritty of IT consultancy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, how long have you been with the university, and how you became an IT solutions consultant?
Yeah, I'll try to run through that quickly. So I joined the university in January of 2023, so about 18 months ago. My career kind of started with me studying graphic design, and then from there I worked at the Apple retail store for a few years, left there to work in marketing and video production roles. And immediately prior to joining the university, I worked for a company called Typeform, an online SaaS company, where I focused on support and customer success for their Video Ask product.
That's awesome. I can't remember if I ever told you this. I also started here at the university in January of 2023
Awesome.
and have a video background.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very
You
cool.
Very
guys are
similar in
all
that
over
way.
the place. Yeah.
Yep. Went to broadcasting school. Yay. Okay, so getting into your role at Notre Dame, can you describe a typical day for you as an IT solutions consultant?
What's cool about my role specifically, and I think this differs from a lot of other IT solutions consultants at the university, is when I joined a team within Arts and Letters Computing, or ALCO. I joined a team of 3 other consultants. So we have a team of 4 IT solutions consultants that supports the entire College of Arts and Letters, which is cool because there's obviously a lot of faculty and staff within the college that we support, but it's more than just a lot of people. There's a lot of different solutions or different problems that we get to face, and so every day doesn't really look the same most of the time. There are some consistent things. Obviously, I'm living in email, living in ServiceNow, Google Chat, all of these tools, but
Now, what is email? Go ahead.
I that's how I feel some days. I need to focus on email, but I can't find it anywhere because there's so many other things happening.
Mhm.
No, it's a really interesting environment, and one of the things that I love about IT solutions consulting is how different the day-to-day can be, but also how different the consultants are. There's so much similarity to the role for everybody that's in it, but there's a lot of space for you to have a unique kind of specialty or a unique level of expertise in different areas. And I get to see that firsthand within Alco because, again, having worked at the Apple retail store, I've been able to focus some of my attention, or the needs of the college have come to me as it relates to Apple solutions, which is great because I've got that skill set where others, didn't work there. We've got other members of the team who worked at Best Buy and touched on a lot more time with Windows computers and Windows solutions than I have. And so, it's a lot of different things. There are a lot of things related to purchasing, a lot of things related to more complex solutions. It's a varied basket, my days.
Okay, gotcha.
So it sounds like you've got a lot on your plate. Now, I know that when you started in your role, you went around asking questions of a lot of other IT solutions consultants, trying to figure out how to better define the role. Because its definitions are a bit ambiguous, as Andy told us earlier. Different areas have different needs. But maybe you can summarize for us who you talked to, what did you learn, how is that informing what you're doing now?
Yeah, it was fun. The transition for me from the startup world with a SaaS company to academia, and this role that felt like on paper it seemed really similar to something I've done before, and in reality was a little bit harder to pin down. I found myself anytime I met another IT solutions consultant, my response or my initial question to them was, "Oh, cool. What does that mean? What do you do?" Right, right. And it was fun. It brought a lot of. I think it actually brought more questions to my head than answers, which was an interesting response to wanting answers. I was seeking a ton of answers in that place, in that moment in my career, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, networking was great. I distinctly remember I was walking through the main building, and I saw somebody carrying a monitor box, and I was like, "Oh, interesting. Let me say hi to this person." So I said, "Hi, hey, what's up? What do you do? Who are you?" And it was Mark Schultz, and he said, "Yeah, I'm an IT solutions consultant." We then had the conversation that I just described. "Well, what does that mean?" And he said, "Oh, good question. We're thinking we need to explore that a little bit more." And so it started a really good chapter of the last year or so of being able to dive into that a little bit more. But yeah, does that provide a little more context around that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
So there's an IT consultancy project. Is that what led you to be active in that project?
Yeah, I think that interaction was a huge part of why I was able to plug into that, because as you heard, I wanted something like that to happen for myself, and I've heard others have a need for that. And so I followed up with Mark pretty regularly, like, "Hey, is that thing happening? Can I plug into that? What's going on there?" And yeah, it was a good opportunity to get together with other IT solutions consultants and really lay those questions on the table and say, what is it that we do? What's our purpose? How do we define that? How can others understand more about what that looks like?
Yeah, so probably a good collection of different perspectives and insights. So, what have you been able to offer the team in that sense? What perspective and insight have you been able to bring into that project as those conversations sort of got going?
Yeah, I felt a little bit like an outsider when the conversation started. So many of the IT solutions consultants at those meetings were embedded or were a part of OIT, and Alco isn't. So Arts and Letters Computing has an office that reports up to the dean's office and is disconnected in a way from OIT a little bit. And so that means a few things are different. There was a few pieces of terminology or verbiage that were used, and I said, I think I don't know, that doesn't apply to everybody. And so I had that kind of outsider's perspective at some stages. But the other thing that I think I was able to bring to the table through that is, as I mentioned, I'm in a position where, although we have so many partner areas, we also have a team of consultants. And that team dynamic it allows us to handle things or approach things differently. And I mean, on one hand, it helped me appreciate some of those benefits, but it also helped me shine a light on what could this look like as we go forward as a university if we were able to identify and maybe even incorporate some of those benefits to other IT solutions consultants.
Sure.
Well, I would think the fact that you were new in your role and new to Notre Dame would have also brought an interesting perspective.
There was that. There was a lot of me just kind of raising my hand. What are you guys talking about? I haven't done that yet, or I don't know what that is. And it really yeah, it really added to the perspective of there are so many different ways that IT solutions consulting has been defined historically, and a lot of carryovers from that mean there's a need to revisit that and kind of find a better definition for that.
Very cool. So let's bring this out of the abstract and down to the ground level for a moment. You've talked about a lot of the different kinds of things that you could be doing, a lot of the different kinds of things consultants could be doing. What are some things that you've done in this past year or 18 months? What are some of the key projects that you've been a part of, or key challenges you faced, and how you resolved them?
Yeah. Um, so to clarify, when you talk about challenges, when you talk about things like that, are you talking about solutions for the users that I support, or things that we've done to solve problems for ourselves internally, or something else?
Yes.
Okay.
Your choice.
Yeah. Um, okay. Well, yeah. So I guess starting at the beginning, one of the first consulting projects that I did for a user for one of our groups was the Center for the Study of Languages and Cultures had this idea of when we host events, we want to know what students come. We want to know our attendance for that. And right now, we're having people either fill out a form or jot down on paper, their name, their net ID, things like that. Is there a way that we can just have them kind of boop their ID card, kind of scan their ID card, their Irish One card? And I said, that seems totally doable. I don't know how to do that, but let's dive into that. So it led me on a journey where I was able to connect with the Irish One Card office, meet Stephen Weaver over there, who was super helpful in the process of figuring out not only, yes, it's possible, but other departments are doing this, and here's the solution. We were able to set up a Tableau dashboard, get the reader in their hands. I learned about FOPLs and how we transfer funds and some of those things. So it was really useful. And I think the reason that's top of mind for me is as we've recently transitioned to the digital Irish One card, there was a moment where, oh no, this solution's not going to work anymore. So because I was involved in implementing that, Stephen actually reached out to me and said, "Hey, we need to get a new reader out to the CSLC. Can you help me with that?" And so keeping that solution running, keeping it going, has been a part of that, and it's been nice to kind of see as I've grown in my role how these things kind of stay true and stick with you as you implement them. So one other thing that we did, and as I've mentioned, being on a team provides us this opportunity to approach things differently. So as Alco kind of figured out what's the best way to do CWP or Campus Workstation Program consulting and getting new computers, I sort of zoomed out, or we as a team looked at it and said, we have 4 consultants all doing every step of this with different people. What if we looked at this differently and we explored what if one consultant did one stage of this, another consultant did another stage, maybe another consultant does another one, and that leaves one consultant free from doing anything related to the CWP purchasing process. It was an interesting idea. We kind of did a thought experiment, and we realized, yeah, let's try this. And so for the last I guess for the last 6 months or so, we've been exploring this through a couple of different projects, and it's been really interesting to be able to identify an internal potential process improvement and then find the way that helps us as consultants do our job better and in batches, so we can stay focused on what we need to when we need to, but also use that as a way to look at how do people experience these solutions as we implement them? Because I feel that improvement every time I think about CWP. It's been great.
Yeah, that's awesome. User experience is a really important part of work for sure.
Well, and that's the kind of thing you asked initially about, did we want an example of an internal project or a user-facing project? And even though the users don't necessarily directly see the improvements and the change, they're certainly affected by those kinds of improvements, because hopefully we're building speed, or we're at least keeping you guys happier through these processes, and it all ultimately affects the users. So it's kind of a weird dichotomy for me. I really see that all as part of serving the user, whether it's directly or indirectly, I suppose.
Now, what are some of the key tools and technologies that you rely on to support your department?
Yeah. We mentioned email, that happens, but I think the biggest change for me coming from the startup space that I was with the Video Ask product was coming in and seeing ServiceNow. ServiceNow is not like many of the tools I was using before. It doesn't have the sleek, sexy, look to it, and it was honestly really confusing for me initially. And I pushed back on that initially. I thought I don't think I want to use this tool. It's not it's not the it can't be the best solution for this, right? But what's interesting is as I've learned more about not only how the tool works, but how the tool is integrated across the entire campus, I've learned there's an incredible amount of value in just that aspect of it. And yes, there is a ton of power there. And as I learn it more, it not only makes a lot of sense, but it's proven to be really helpful.
It's a really nice way to say it's inescapable. Yes.
Well, I position it that way because I'm sort of seeing the same thing with Google Chat. I knew email lived in Google. Gmail is what we use, and I saw there was a chat feature. I had never used it. I came from a place where Slack was kind of the bread and butter of what we did. Right, it was everything, and so I was happy to see that Alco had a Slack solution implemented within our team, and that was nice because it was very familiar with it.
Yeah.
As I continued throughout my time, I realized, oh, I can't just Slack anybody at the university.
True.
And there's a lot of people who are using Google Chat or GChat for that. And I found myself sort of having to try to keep both of them up and running and do that. And I've slowly, whenever I have the option, found myself opting for the Google Chat or the GChat option because I know that the other person's going to have that, and I know it's a good alternative for certain types of conversations than email is. So those are mostly obviously internal conversations. I'm not typically Google chatting with the faculty or staff that I'm supporting. But as I'm looking for partner areas and partners across campus that I need to communicate with, there is something that's really nice about having a tool that's implemented across the entire university.
Yeah.
So when we start pushing Slack out further and further, you're on the team to help make that happen. Is that what I'm hearing?
It's funny you ask, Scooter. I've been asking myself that question. Do I need to push for Slack more, or do I need to get more buy-in for Google Chat? And I don't know yet. We'll see.
All right. I'll keep you in mind.
All right.
So, you're kind of alluding to, different products, different technologies. We know that we live in a rapidly changing environment. How do you stay on top of things? How do you stay on top of whether they're brand new technologies or whether they're advancements within our bread and butter sort of tools? How do you stay on top of things?
Yeah, it's interesting. So, starting back when I worked at Apple, I had this strong interest in just kind of being up on what's the new emerging tech, what's happening, and keeping up with news and podcasts in that space has been something that I've continued to do, throughout the years and still do. But as I get deeper into the world that is Notre Dame, I've realized that there are people, there are communities of practice, there are relationships that are really important to stay up with, and that's where you get a lot of really good information. I'll actually reach in my pocket here. I have this little token that I keep with me from time to time that just says relationships are currency, and it helps me remember how important and why I prioritize, saying hi to people, checking in with people, making sure that I do those check-ins because it's almost without fail that a conversation that I have with somebody without any agenda up front results in some piece of information that I either can immediately put into practice or am happy to have and can use pretty soon in the future.
Yeah, that's crazy important, and it's we heard Andy mention that earlier on the show about how crucial those relationships are with our customers, with our partners, all of those places. So
Yeah.
good to see it being put into action.
Yeah, there's also the traditional professional development, going through the change management professional development that I did to become a certified, change practitioner. That was super helpful. I'm, taking classes to study leadership and management because that's something I'd like to see in my future. actually, on that note, something that I did that I felt really weird for doing when I first started at the university was I signed up to take a class, a Notre Dame class, as a employee non-degree seeking student. And I knew I wanted to. I love learning, and I knew I wanted to do that. But I also knew that there's a lot that I don't know about higher ed. There's a lot that I don't know about what these faculty that I support are experiencing. And so I enrolled in a design class within a department that's within the College of Arts and Letters. And having that experience of sitting in the classroom as a student for a full semester was so eye-opening for me as an IT solutions consultant to see firsthand, what do the students experience? What do the professors go through when they're teaching? And having that firsthand experience allowed me to grow in empathy in ways that was going to prove to be really useful for me. And so, yeah, I think that's another experience that, I prioritized without realizing what the benefits would be, but found it to be really helpful.
So is that the kind of thing that, just as you've done, you can tell people about the experience and kind of relate it to, or are you recommending to everybody that they should go out and enroll in a class right now so that they can live the same experience you did?
Oh, it depends. I know there's a lot of IT solutions consultants who don't directly support again, directly support the student experience or the faculty experience. That said, I think the more that we can either role play or step into the shoes of our partner areas and the end user that our solution will impact, if we can do that, we're going to be able to find new perspectives and new ideas for how to best implement, how to support the change of what implementation looks like. So yeah, I think empathy is huge, and any way we can find empathy is terrific. That said, we do have an incredible benefit here where we can take classes, and I would encourage anybody to do that who can take advantage of it.
Yeah. That sounds like a really, really great way to totally eliminate blind spots. Well, maybe not totally, but to eliminate a lot of larger blind spots that you may not have been aware of without going through that experience and kind of immersing yourself in, step by step, what are they really seeing from that side of things?
Yeah, yeah, and like Scooter was saying, even if you can't do that, finding those sources of who has gone through this experience and really listening to them and asking those questions is an important part of finding and implementing the right solution. Because we can implement solutions, but if it's not the right solution, we're wasting a lot of people's time potentially and anything else. So yeah, really finding that that spot to listen from and pay attention is helpful.
Yeah.
So speaking of taking that class that I took when I first started back in January of 2023, the professor that I had that class with just a few months ago came to me and said, "Hey, I've got this grant, I've got this project that I need a wide format, a large format printer for." And kind of said, "Here's what I'm thinking, Dan. So I had a great experience with an Epson or an HP. I can't recall. Is that something we can get for what we're looking at?" Which was great. Like I really appreciated him coming to me, and I think it gave me this opportunity to push back for just a moment and say, well, we might be able to, but before we look at an HP or an Epson, whatever it was, we're kind of a Canon campus. Is there a reason you don't want a Canon solution? And he just add a little more detail. I had a great experience with an Epson or whatever it was, and so I just want to make sure. I don't know if Canon's up to snuff, up to par, right?
So now you've got a competition going.
A little bit, yeah. But what's cool about that is because I knew we were a Canon campus, I was able to actually reach out to our Canon reps and say, hey, here's a question. I've got somebody interested in purchasing a wide format printer. What can you tell me? And they ended up connecting me with someone at Canon who specializes in these printers. We got on a Zoom call, and we're able to kind of break down the differences in the models that they have. And I also explore the idea because we have a digital print studio in Riley Hall, and I said, well, maybe that'll work. And so that was kind of in the back of my mind of maybe I'll present this as an option. And what I learned during that call is that the printers that our digital print studio uses, because they have some Epson and they have some Canon, and the image prograph, I think, is the model that we have for the large format printers there, the Canon printers. I learned that the GP 4000 series, the GP series, I think is what it is is a printer that adds a fluorescent pink ink, like just one color,
Fluorescent pink.
fluorescent pink. Yep.
Okay.
And when I learned that, I wondered, well, what does that mean? And they said, I don't know the exact numbers, but I do know that it's there to help this printer match more, like a notable amount more Pantone colors. And when I'm thinking about that, I'm like, okay, well, photography is probably, the digital print studio, which prints a lot of photography. Maybe they don't need Pantone colors because they're capturing the images, but design, that might be something that matters.
Well, that's fascinating.
Yeah. So
how'd this turn out then?
I took the information back to the professor and kind of shared where we were at, and I said, now I know quality was a big concern, and Canon said if you want to see test prints, we can ship you some, or you can even send us files and we can test print those and send them to you. But here's what I learned. I broke down the differences, and when I talked about the series that has the fluorescent pink ink, it was almost an instant no-brainer for that professor.
Oh my gosh.
It was, oh yeah, let's do the Canon thing. We even talked about how Canon provides service plan if they need it, because we as a university have that relationship, and so yeah. And the other thing, again, why didn't we go further down the Epson train, is I talked to Sarah in the multimedia print studio, the digital print studio, and I said, hey, we've got a professor who's thinking about this or that. And she said, well, unless they're going to do maintenance on it bi-weekly or more frequently, the Epson is not a good option. Those things can be very finicky, especially when you get into the larger format. And so if they want to go that route, it's a high quality print. I don't think it's necessarily better than the Canon, but you have to prioritize maintenance on that machine.
Oh, wow.
And given where this would be installed in Westlake, there's not it's going to be less reliable or less predictable to have that regular maintenance. So
Wow.
again, another reason why the Canon ended up being a much better solution for the problem that was presented.
I mean, so this feels like, as we're talking about the roles of consultants, I mean, this feels like the whole package. I mean, because first you're talking about the way you were talking with your faculty and trying to line up their expectations, but then you're turning around and doing some vendor management and learning some new things yourself, and then turning around and talking to one of the staff that's already on the ground who has this kind of specialization. I mean, what didn't you do in this case? This really feels like that glue between all those pieces.
Well, the other thing that I'll add, because it really did feel like a full package, the thing that I'll add is this didn't come through as a formal request. This is something that built on the fact that I had a relationship with this
Oh, wow.
faculty member, and I happened to be in Westlake walking through, and I saw that his door was there, and I said, hey, how's it going? And we talked about other things, but again, this is one of those moments where a conversation that didn't have a purpose or an intention raised an issue that ultimately became the core part of what I'm here to do as an IT solutions
Wow,
consultant.
just really underscores that value, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a fun project.
That's great. That's great. So, okay, here we are. Now it's time for Consultant Quirks, where we ask our guests a few fun rapid fire questions. So, you ready, Dan?
I will be. It's rapid fire, so I'm not going to overthink it.
All right, good. All right, so 3 questions. Question number 1. What fictional character do you identify most with?
Ooh, okay. Fictional character. All right, I'm gonna try this one. So I'm gonna say Daniel-san from The Karate Kid.
The Karate Kid. Okay, Mr.
Yeah.
Miyagi, the whole wax on, wax off. Okay.
Exactly.
Yep.
So if anybody's gone through the Better Conversations Every Day training that happens here, on campus, which I've loved, and I've actually started table coaching and facilitating for that too. So I've seen this clip several times. But what I love about that clip, and not only is my name Daniel, so I sort of align with that, but there's this level of I'm doing these things, I'm learning these things, and I don't know why I'm doing them, or I don't know what this is going to do or mean for me later. And I've gone through a circuitous enough career journey to know that sometimes you're doing things and you can't clearly see what the benefit is going to be. But if you do it, if you commit to it, if you stick with it, there probably will be a benefit. You can apply that skill in a new way. So wax on, wax off, and how does that relate to karate?
Got to get Mr. Miyagi in here to set you straight.
Right.
That's what I'm hearing.
Right.
Okay. All right, something to work on. All right, so question number 2. If you could have dinner with any person, real or fictional, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Okay. This is an interesting one. I've heard this question asked to other people before, and I've never had a good answer to it. So again, rapid fire. Here's my answer. I think the answer to this is I would want to have dinner with my wife. Having kids is terrific, and I love it. But it also means there's not that moment that you can sit down and have a real conversation. And so there's probably much better answers to this question. It's a very
No,
broad
there's
question.
not.
No.
There's 100%
No.
not a better answer.
All right. Yeah.
You're setting the bar really high for everybody that follows now.
And the opportunity to get time alone when you have kids is very
Invaluable.
few and far in between. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, final question. With everybody now back to school, we know that parents will be exposed to every bug their kids bring home, and I know you got a couple of them. So when you're feeling under the weather, what's your go-to comfort? Are you a ramen soup guy, like we heard Andy was saying? Do you just cozy up to the sofa? What do you do to decompress when you're feeling buggy?
Yeah, good question. And this is something I know all too well. Not only do my kids go to school, but my wife is the librarian at the Stanley Clark School. So this back to school season is going to bring a lot of stuff back for a lot of us.
And our immunity's all down. The kids have been
Yep.
home. Yep.
Yep, exactly. The interesting thing about this one is I know there are a lot of people who love, to be kind of pampered or just kind of taken care of when they're feeling sick or under the weather. And I find myself kind of the opposite. I'm more of a leave me alone. That's kind of my approach. Like if I have the option of just saying my body is not healthy right now, I'm just going to try to lay somewhere alone and try to let it recover. I don't want to be interrupted. I don't want anything.
It's isolation.
Yeah, isolation. That's my approach to when I don't feel well.
Yeah, sort of a mini vacation, except you can't really enjoy it.
Exactly.
Just-
Exactly.
Just close the door, turn off the lights.
Yep.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you so much, Dan.
Yes, thanks, Dan.
It's been wonderful having you on the show. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's been great.
Okay.
All right, and now it's time for tech tips and tricks. At this point in the show, we will highlight tips and tricks we learned from you, our listeners. We would love to hear your ideas. Simply email them to btspodcast@indy.edu. Since this is our first episode and we don't have any of those tips yet, we'd like to just make note of a few of the new offerings that dropped recently and perhaps seed some ideas for tips that we might hear from you in the future. So we know our digital Irish One card has recently started being offered, and we also know FastPass just dropped. Was that last week?
Yeah.
Yep. So passwordless authentication. I know a lot of folks are really excited about that. So you early adopters, you tell us all the things that we should know.
Yeah. FastPass is cool because you don't have to type in your super long password every time. You can just do whatever, fingerprint ID or Face ID, and log into your Octified things.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's very cool. If you've got ideas about either of these topics or anything else, just email those ideas to btspodcast@nd.edu. And if there's anything else new, exciting, frustrating, or inspiring happening in your IT consultancy world, please share that info with us too. We'd love to hear your insights and your ideas.
Next time, we'll be speaking with John Boozy about the Wireless First initiative. Until then, thank you for listening.
Signing off from behind the screens, IT at ND.
Stay tech savvy, Notre Dame.
Today is August 21st, 2024.
This is episode 1.
Wednesday.
Wednesday, behind the screens.